Welcome to Enabling and Disabling Features. The reason we need to enable features after installation is because we don't install all the features all the time. The reason we don't want to install all the features all the time is for a couple of reasons. Typically, we want to minimize the number of features that are installed as a security measure, because the less features that are installed, the less risk there is of attack, because the smaller the attack surface area is. The second reason is for resource utilization. The less features we have installed, the less services that are running, so the less resources that are being used on a regular basis. New features can be added by simply modifying the existing installation. This is a very simple process, as we're simply going to walk through the installation wizard, changing just a few pieces of the installation process that you've seen in other videos, and that you've probably seen when installing SQL Server 2012 on machines at your office or your home. Let's go ahead and take a look at how we actually install these features. As you can see, I've got the SQL Server Installation Center on the screen. This is the SQL Server 2012 Installation Center as part of the SQL Server 2012 product. This is running on a Windows Server 2012 machine. We're on the installation pane, and we're simply going to click the new SQL Server Standalone Installation or Add Features to an Existing Installation option. This is going to walk us through the wizard that's going to let us install new features on our existing instance. We're going to do the standard setup support rule check to make sure that we can actually install SQL Server on this machine, making sure that the machine's not requiring a restart or any of the other things that this wizard is going to check for. Once the rule check is complete, we can click OK, and that'll launch us into the actual installation. A lot of the screens you're going to see as part of this installation process are very similar that you would have seen in other videos, such as the SQL Server installation videos. So I'm going to skip over a lot of those screens. We're going to turn off the product updates, because as you've seen in other videos, these virtual machines are not connected to the internet. The install setup files have to be installed every time you run through this wizard, so this is just going to take a couple of minutes to actually get the installation files reinstalled. The reason for this is that different versions of SQL Server come with different versions of installation files. This includes the fact that we may have slipstreamed in a different set of installation files, so we need to get those new files installed on the machine so that any new installation processes are using the updated version of the installer. We go through the standard rule check to make sure that this installation process can continue. At this point, we're prompted with some information. Do we want to perform a new installation of SQL Server 2012, or do we want to add features to an existing instance? In this case, we want to add features to an existing instance. So we're going to select that radio button and select the instance we wish to modify. Keep in mind, if you're modifying the default instance, that will be labeled as MS SQL Server. Click Next. On the feature installation screen, we can simply check any additional features that we wish to install. For example, let's install the Client Tools Connectivity Pack. We simply check the checkbox for this, and then click Next. At this point, the rest of the installation is going to be very similar to what we've seen in the past, and what we may have seen on our own machines. The only pages that we're going to have to go through of the actual installer are going to be the pages related to the specific services or features that we're installing. As we go through the rest of these screens, we can see not a whole lot of stuff is happening. So we can simply click OK through it, and then click the Install option. At this point, the feature will be installed. When the wizard is completed, the feature will be available to us. While we can install features, we can also disable or uninstall features as well. We want to do this because we want to get these features off of the machine. Features should be uninstalled when not being used to, again, limit the security risks as well as minimize resource consumption on the server. Uninstalling features is a very similar process to installing features. We simply go through the wizard and simply remove those features by unchecking the boxes. It is going to be a slightly different wizard to actually remove features from an instance, so we'll go ahead and show that to you as part of the next demonstration. Here you can see we have a Windows Server 2012 that has several SQL Server 2012 features installed on it. Let's go ahead and uninstall one of those features. So the first thing we need to do is bring up the Add Remove Programs. To do this on Windows Server 2012, the easiest way is to bring up the Start menu by clicking the Start button on the keyboard or clicking Start in the lower left-hand corner. Then simply type Add, as shown in the search bar, then click on Settings. The first option will be Add or Remove Programs. When we select that, that will pop up and populate with all the programs installed on the machine. Select Microsoft SQL Server 2012 64-bit, or 32-bit, depending on which build you have installed, and then select Uninstall/Change. This will then launch the wizard to do the actual uninstallation of features. When this first window pops up, click Remove. This will then launch the actual wizard that we're going to go through to do the actual uninstallation of the features we wish to remove. We do a basic rule check to make sure that we're ready to uninstall SQL Server 2012 features, or perhaps the entire product, as we have not yet told the uninstaller what we wish to remove. Once the rule check is complete, we can click OK. We then wait for the next phase of the wizard to begin. We bring the wizard up, and you can see what we are prompted with. We can remove features from a specific instance, or we can remove shared features only. We're going to remove a shared feature. So we select Remove Shared Features Only from the dropdown, and then select Next. In this case, we want to uninstall the SQL Client Connectivity SDK, because it's no longer needed on the machine. So we select the checkbox for that feature, and then click Next. The next thing that will happen is that the installation wizard will run a rule check to make sure that we can actually remove this feature. It does not verify the feature is not in use. It simply tells us we can uninstall the feature. We get a summary screen here, as well as a config file we can use for unattended uninstallations later on, should we need to. We can then click Remove. At this point, the feature is being removed from the machine and will no longer be available. If the feature is currently in use, users will begin receiving error messages at this point. So you'll need to make sure that whatever features you're removing from the server are not actually in use. In summary, additionals not already enabled are installed via the SQL Server installation process. It's the exact same wizard that you would have used to install SQL Server on the machine. Some features can be disabled, like for example integration services or analysis services. Other features need to be uninstalled completely to be removed from the machine. In reality, any feature that's not actively being used on the machine by users in a production mode should not be installed on the machine, as this adds the potential for security problems as well as resource usage that we don't necessarily want to have on the machine in a production environment.